Cajuns defense dominates the Jags. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your affable host, Dave Schultz. Today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, a crazy weekend in the Sunbelt. We will go over half the ball games today and then half the ball games tomorrow. And of course, I was at the South Alabama Louisiana game, so that's going first, and it was quite the ball game. But I mean, JMU survives again. Couple games I had wrong. Georgia State, Georgia Southern, I had wrong. Cajun, South Alabama, I had wrong. But I believe I picked App State to win, but Southern missed to cover. I picked ODU to cover, and I picked Troy to cover, and didn't think it would be that close. Although these games never kind of play out the way you think it's going to be. I mean, Texas State had a lot of yardage, but they just kept on turning the ball over, which is what South Alabama did. Let's start off with the Ragin Cajuns, really impressive 33-20 ball game. And if you didn't see it and you just went to the stats and you're seeing, again, 33-20, and then you go to the team stats and you're like, South Alabama, 498 yards to the Cajuns, 348. All right, nobody on the Cajuns, box score-wise, Zion Kristen throw for 150 yards. Jacob Cabote had 119 yards, but one of them was 56 yards. So he was 22 of about 70, and then he ran off a 56-yarder, actually less than 70. And nobody had over 50 yards of receiving. Nobody had more than 3 catches. Terrence Carter led the Cajuns with 3 receptions. This ball game was all on the Cajuns' defense. They forced 5. They had 5 sacks. Cam Whitfield had 3.5 by himself. He also had 2 turnovers, forcing 2 turnovers. One ended up being a scoop and score for Kendrick Gant. And the Cajuns forced 5 turnovers. They had 5 sacks and 5 turnovers. And it started with the second possession of the game for South Alabama. And it seemed like after that, they were not the same. My concern was in this game is that the Cajuns would get off to a slow start offensively, and that's exactly what happened. They didn't do anything, I thought, on their first 2 possessions. Let's see. I feel like Mike Desimo suggested otherwise. No, they had 5 plays on their first drive, 3 plays on their second drive. And then South Alabama had a 13-play drive, and the Cajuns made 2 big plays on that play. They got the tight end out, DJ Thomas out wide, and made a tackle on him short of the first down. So it was 4th and 1, and I'm not sure why they went with Kentrell Bullock instead of Marco Lee, but whatever the case is, the Cajuns defense stood up. And then South Alabama went into the tank offensively. 3 plays, fumble. Punt, fumble. It was bad after that. They were not very good after that offensively in the first half. Cajuns take advantage of that, and they end up turning the stuffed 4th down into a 12-play, 93-yard drive to go up 7-0. Then Cam Whitfield gets the first sack of Carter Bradley, and the Cajuns get a fumble, and they take that into in for a touchdown as Zion Chris, I believe, hit Neil Johnson for a little 3-yard pass, and it was 14-0. Cajuns get another stop and 3 and out, and they turn that into a field goal. They were thinking about going for it on 4th and 1, but Mike Desimo said afterwards that it was a little bit further than it was a long one. Let's say that. Like if it was inside 1 yard, he may have gone for it. But also we discussed this, earlier on in the season, G.J. Kinney had a chance to go up and didn't. and missed it, and that may have cost them at least a little momentum, right? You don't want to give, at the time, you don't want to give South Alabama any kind of momentum. Let's just go up by 17. South Alabama did move the ball a little bit after that at the end of the half, but that ended up as a fumble at the end of the half as well. They weren't really in scoring position at the time, just over midfield. Now it turns into a ball game, and I do want to talk about this because of the 5 turnovers and the 5 sacks. Some of these plays get a little bit lost. The 4th down play that really turned the game around, one huge play. South Alabama comes out and gets the ball and goes right down for a touchdown. Cajuns come back at a field goal. South Alabama, 3 plays, really 2, but a 3-play drive, 89 yards, touchdown. It's 20-14. I think the next biggest play of the game was on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. They hit Neil Johnson, and he gets away for a 14-yard gain. Let me make sure that was it. I thought they lost yardage. And it was 3rd and 10. They had gotten the yardage back. So it was 1st and 15. They got a penalty early on in the drive. It was 3rd and 10. They got 14 yards. All right. If they punt the ball back to South Alabama, who knows what happens in the rest of the game? Now it's 20-14, and South Alabama's got all the momentum. They've scored 2 touchdowns on their last 2 possessions, and they have the momentum, and they get a stop. Instead, the Cajuns convert a 3rd and 10. Neil Johnson up the sidelines. Always go to the tight end when in doubt, of course. 2 plays later, Jacob Caboti, 56-yard touchdown. That makes it 26-14. Kind of some questions about going for it for 2, but they end up with a 26-14 lead. Then comes another Cam Whitfield sack, and then comes the Gant scoop and score, and that puts the game away. So everyone's going to remember the sacks, and everyone's going to remember the turnovers, but the 3 big plays in the ball game are the 4th and 1 stop, the Neil Johnson conversion on 3rd and 10 getting 14 yards, and then the Caboti touchdown. If you don't get the 4th down stop, South Alabama takes the lead. If you don't get the 3rd down conversion, South Alabama may take the lead then. It may be a 21-20 ball game, and who knows what happens at that point in time. So those were the big plays in the ball game. Again, South Alabama continues to befuddle. I don't know what the problem is. I haven't watched the press conference. I did get a chance to see, a bunch of the coaches beforehand and administrators, and it's always good to go back to Mobile. And Hancock Whitney is a nice little stadium. All right, not a lot of fans there. That was disappointing. It is odd. Cajuns fans don't come out. South Alabama fans don't come out. Auburn was playing Mississippi State, but Alabama was off. It was a gorgeous day, right? I mean, Texas State is bringing them in, 23,000. JMU is selling out. Georgia Southern brings in a bunch of fans. For some reason, they were not out there. But I did get to see Ken Womack briefly. I guess I don't know what the problem is. I'd love to be able to sit down, do like a little off-the-record deal, even on the record deal. And where do they think they went wrong? And we had Craig Stevenson on trying to live up to the expectations for the season. AL.com beat writer for the Jags, maybe. So does that get in their heads if they're falling behind? Like, oh my God, the whole season's over if we don't get this touchdown. But now, by the way, at the end of the ball game, and we hope he's okay, Carter Bradley was injured. They scored a touchdown late, and then they went for 2, and he was injured on the 2-point play. Hopefully he's okay. God forbid that's the way this season ends. Going for 2 down a ridiculous amount, which has no effect on the game. All right, let's take time out. When we come back, JMU survives, and my goodness, did they barely survive. Almost a repeat of last year. Get ranked and then fall out. But they do get a win and move on. Time to tell you about Athletic Brewing Company and our Athletic Brewing Company game changer of the week. Much like, got to go with Cam Whitfield, Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. All right, so a bunch of guys could get this, right? You got the Coastal Carolina quarterback. Gunnar Watson played well. Plenty of potential for this, but I'm going with Cam Whitfield, seeing that firsthand. 3.5 sacks, leading the Cajuns defense, which had 5, and he personally forced 2 turnovers that turned the game into the Cajuns' favor. Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good, full of flavor and well-crafted, just like a full-strength beer. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewingcompany.com. Near beer, exclusions, and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about this JMU ball game. And I mean, what a ball game it was. JMU, lots going on with JMU, right? They're undefeated, they're ranked, and they got the controversy of them not being eligible to play in the Sunbelt Championship or go to a bowl game unless someone doesn't qualify, unless we don't have enough qualifiers for the game. So there's a lot going on here. And the one thing that they have done the last two ball games, they have covered the last two games, but they play a lot of one-score games, and we mentioned this. The final line here does say 19.5, but this was like a 20-point game all week long. And ODU just doesn't get blown out for the most part. They don't necessarily win pretty, but, Marshall didn't blow them out. Wake Forest didn't blow them out. Should have won the Wake Forest ball game. They just don't get blown out. And so we called that one right. Now, the problem is that JMU kept on turning the ball over, specifically Jordan McLeod with a couple of interceptions. But push come to shove, JMU's defense got it done when they had to, right? In the fourth quarter, they allowed a total of 3 points. And let's see what the possessions were, because it wasn't a whole lot. So they get a 12-play drive, and they had first and goal. Here's where the defense stands up for JMU. This is probably where the game was won. First and goal at the JMU 4. Kadarius Callaway run for no gain. Kadarius run for a loss of 2. Grant Wilson pass incomplete. So they were at first and goal at the 4. They got no closer. Probably the right decision to kick a field goal to make it a 3-point ball game. JMU gets a 3-and-out, but then, or I should say ODU's defense gets a 3-and-out, but then so does JMU's defense. 3-and-out. JMU eats up a little bit of clock, 5 plays. ODU, a 7-play drive, but they were starting on their own 17-yard line. They got to midfield, and they got behind the sticks, and Grant Wilson's pass on 4th and 11 at the ODU 46 was incomplete, and that was your game. So JMU's defense, when it needed it, stood up first and goal from the 4, right? They're going to, the Monarchs are going to take the lead with the extra point, right? I don't know if JMU's given up 415 yards all season. It's a good job by ODU in this ballgame. Let's see here. Rushing 138. Let's see what our guy Callaway did. Apparently, Wicks did more. Kadarius Callaway, 17 carries, 65 yards. Keyshawn Wicks, 11 carries, 74 yards. Callaway had the touchdown. Grant Wilson had a good ball game, 26 of 36, 277 for a couple of touchdowns. And interesting, watching the reaction from JMU fans is like, wow, ODU came to play. Good on them. We're happy we won, but really impressed with what ODU did against them. So usually you don't necessarily see a tip of the cap, but they gave them all they could give them, right? That's a huge ball game. It takes the controversy away if ODU wins. All right, the rest of the East is now battling for first place. Now they're still battling for second, I guess. And maybe we could check those standings out. But that's a heck of a job by ODU. Ricky Ronnie's got the Monarchs going in the right direction. It should be they're we'll see if, because it's only been 1 year, right? I mean, GJ Kinney's getting all the pub because of Texas State and TJ Finley, but ODU is right there. All right. I don't think it's, that the coach was on the hot seat in Norfolk would be calling it a shock to say that at the beginning of the season, and he's anything but now. Let's see what ODU has for the rest of the year. They're 4-4, 3-2 in the Sun Belt. They get Coastal next. That's at home. We'll see if Grayson McCall comes back. That didn't affect Coastal Carolina this week, I'll tell you that. They're at Liberty. That's going to be tough. Then at Georgia Southern, that's going to be tough. And then you get Georgia State. So, I think we mentioned that earlier in the year. I mean, that's a heck of a schedule by ODU. I mean, the first 3 ball games, Vatech, the Cajuns, and Wake. Jeez. The last 4 games, last 5 games. I mean, they haven't had a cakewalk all year. Texas A&M Commerce ended up being a 1-point game. This is a heck of a schedule. Vatech, Louisiana, Wake, A&M Commerce. That should have been a cakewalk, but wasn't. They lost to Marshall. Southern Miss was a 4-point ball game. App State was a 7-point win. They lose by 3 to James Madison. Coastal, Liberty, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. That is a gauntlet. So it does not get any easier for the Monarchs, but a heck of a ball game for JMU. They actually moved up. I thought they may move down. They moved up in the rankings. A little bit surprised. That's how the rankings work, right? If you win, you move up. And they did. They were 25 last week. They are 23rd in the AP, and they're 24th in the coaches poll. So they keep on moving up. We'll see if people change their mind. Political pressure seems to work these days. But so far, it has not, to allow JMU to be eligible. And, you got to kind of have to move along, because someone has to host the Sun Belt Championship. And if JMU is going to be eligible, it's going to be them. So someone has to make a decision soon. I presume it is coming here rather quickly. I mean, in fact, the decision has been made. We'll see if anybody changes their mind. The decision has been made. They're not eligible, and they won't be playing in the Sun Belt Championship. The only thing that's going to stop that is if someone changes their mind. So we shall see. And of course, we will keep you updated. You can go back to last week and listen to Shane Metlin. He pointed out JMU is not doing any of this. This is Shane Metlin trying to get answers from people, and politicians trying to step up and say, hey, let's go. And it's not JMU, oddly enough. They're letting other people run with it. And so far, from what I've seen, they've gotten the people trying to run with it, getting a little blowback. So I know it's not fair. It kind of is what it is, right? They made an agreement 2 years ago. It wasn't, let's play for a year and see how it goes. It stinks. It's not right, but that's what the agreement was. Okay, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we will talk Troy, because I think now they are the best team in the Sun Belt. Let us tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers. Also, PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they go more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. At PrizePicks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections instead of battling thousands of others, including pros and sharks. PrizePicks entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks offers a recently improved deposit and withdrawal experience, including the option to use Apple Pay for quick deposits into your account. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about these Troy Trojans. I happen to think right now, and I know they lost about a month ago to JMU. Has it been that long? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, but longer. I happen to think Troy is now the best team in the Sun Belt. Their defense is outstanding, although the stats, Texas State rolled up 437 yards of offense. A lot of that is empty calories, kind of like South Alabama put up a lot of yards, but it didn't really matter. They turned the ball over 4 times. TJ Finley turned it over 3 himself. A couple of interceptions and a fumble. And again, I wasn't expecting the turnovers. I was expecting Troy to shut down Texas State yardage-wise, but I kind of was expecting this kind of ball game. Troy pulls away at the end, 17 in the fourth quarter. Texas State got on top and, made it a game. It was 10-7 at half. In fact, at the end of the third, it was 14-13 Troy. And then the turnovers is what, pulled the Bobcats away. Still no shame. Texas State trying to get bowl eligible. They are 5-3, 2-2 in the Sun Belt. They get, and it's not going to get easier either. They get Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State, and South Alabama. That South Alabama game at the end of the year could be very interesting. Let's talk about Troy, because they are the defending Sun Belt champions. It doesn't appear, as of right now, and it can change. I don't think it will, but it can. They're not going to get a second shot at Troy, right? They didn't get a second shot at JMU. They didn't get a shot at JMU last year. JMU beat them this year, 16-14. That's actually when Troy's season kind of turned around defensively, and they have not stopped since. Troy right now has got to be the favorite to win the Sun Belt. And again, despite 2 losses and despite losing to JMU, as of right now, October 30th, Troy is the best team in the Sun Belt. Gunnar Watson coming along, 26 of 40 for almost 400 yards. I did say that Texas State's defense was susceptible. 3 touchdowns. Kamani Vidal held in check, if you will. 18 carries, only 43 yards. So Gunnar actually has to carry the offense, and he did. Jabri Barber with 10 catches, 160 yards. Jeez, that's a good ball game. He could have been a game changer. Chris Lewis, 3 catches, 51 yards. Deshaun Stoudemire, he had a touchdown, and Landon Parker also caught a touchdown. So Texas State actually did a pretty good job of slowing down the Troy rushing attack, and Gunnar Watson was there to not make it not matter. TJ Finley, 24, 38, 262 with a touchdown, those 2 picks. Ismail Mahdi, 20 carries, 128 yards, but he was kept out of the end zone. Again, a great season for Texas State. Still looking to get bowl eligible. All right. I think they will. Troy, on the other hand, is looking to go back-to-back championships in the Sun Belt. And, hate to be the one to say this. I certainly can't be the only one to thinking about it. We'll see what happens when those job openings come open, because, someone's going to come calling for John Summerall. All right. It's really fast. It's 2 years. He's doing a great job there. It'd be great if he stayed, but it's tough to compete with that. I don't think the Kentucky job is going to open. We'll see. I know some Kentucky fans want it to open. We'll see if it does. I doubt it. So we'll see. Again, he may stick around until the right job comes. He may pull a Napier. I know Billy's struggling with Florida, but he's not going to get let go either. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Summerall, dips his toe into the pond to see what's out there. And that may happen whether he wins the Sun Belt championship or not. But I think Troy, with that defense and Gunnar Watson improving, they're the best team in the Sun Belt right now. Right now. Again, I know they lost to Troy. I keep on saying that. I know they lost to JMU. I would love to see that rematch, though. I would really love to see that rematch because I think Troy right now is the better team, and they are on a short week. They get South Alabama. It's on the deuce. Let's quickly, I did not look all day. It was, let's just say, it was a struggle getting back from Mobile last night. We didn't really even do that much, and it was still a little bit of a struggle. Does not say. Oh, okay. So initial reports positive. Let's see, that was yesterday. Craig Stevenson wrote this. Head coach Ken Womack said after the game that early indications are Bradley isn't seriously injured, but remains too early to tell. All right. Bradley was injured on a 2-point conversion attempt when he was hit after throwing an incomplete pass. I mean, he tweaked his knee in there in the end. He's such a competitor, and he's trying to make something happen. He knew he was going to have to fight and take some hits tonight in the second half when we were down. I think the prognosis is probably pretty positive from what I've heard. It's going to be pretty sore. He got dinged up, similar to the injury he's been dealing with all season, but it just got tweaked. All right, so hopefully he's okay, but he certainly doesn't have a whole lot of time to recuperate. They're playing Thursday. So Troy's got South Alabama on Thursday. Ragin Cajuns are all of a sudden South Alabama fans. They are all South Alabama fans, hoping the Jaguars can do something in Troy on a Thursday. All right, we're just getting underway this week. We still got to do that App State ball game. Did Sean Clark just save his job? Marshall completely falls apart, which means Coastal Carolina, their best win under Tim Beck, and Arkansas State with a win. All of a sudden, Arkansas State's got 4 wins. Can they go bowling? Don't look now, but are they in the race for the Sun Belt West? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but standing-wise, they are right there. Okay, we'll do more all week long. Of course, we'll preview the battle for the belt. Troy versus South Alabama. Maybe we can get a special guest on. Sounds like a Barry McKnight request is coming forward. The voice of the Troy Trojans. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's getting very exciting. We got just a month left and still a lot to be decided in both divisions. I am your host, Dave Schultz, and you've been listening and watching to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Have a great week, everybody.